Good evening and welcome to the Shir of Sipurey Maasios and Falach Chanukah to everyone. Tomorrow's Erev Rosh Chodesh. It's a Shem, it's a gewaldige Zman. It's a Erev Rosh Chodesh Tevis is a very propitious Zman, very auspicious Zman to daven for, to have good children, and the children should be good, and to the Shem should be Zeichen. So here's our friend Rabbi Ernst Weig. Hello, there he is. Okay, so let's take a quick look here. So we spoke about the Chacham Echad that had a child. The child was, he told his children always to water trees. And we said that means that it is incumbent upon us to water the waters of the Nachman of Ve'ah for Ve'ah Chodesh to everybody. And we said that the Chacham passed away and left children, and one child that could not walk. We say this represents a person who is coming into Avodas Hashem. He knows that in order to get any kind of madrega in Avodas Hashem, you have to go through a Yerida. And many times it looks like you're taking one step forwards and three steps backwards. And many times you don't even know whether you're going up or you're going down. And the Yetzer Hara is the Medama, the imagination. It overcomes the person. It tells them, listen, you're not matzliach to get anywhere. You're not going anywhere. You're just going backwards and backwards. This is called a figure. That's called a cripple. And you should look in Terech Hafei. Bezat Hashem will get to it. The Terech Hafei says that that's a normal way of doing things. So figure, a cripple, signifies somebody who feels that he cannot advance, he cannot, get better in any way. Now, the thing is that above where I'm at, there is a crippleness, as it were, which is different. We found by Moshe Rabbeinu that his crippleness was due to the fact that he was able to perceive the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in an unimaginable madrega, that he understood that vis-a-vis the greatness of Hashem, he has not even begun to walk. This is also a bechina, an aspect of being a cripple. But this kind of cripple is the one who helps all the other cripples. They go through all the nisyonos and all the wars that they have to go, the trials and tribulations that they have to go through in Avodas Hashem. And we said that particular son could stand or just he couldn't walk. So there are, and we said that this alludes to various cases that you cannot advance Avodas Hashem. You can't go, you can't feel, the love of Hashem, you can't feel the year properly. But the one thing you need to do is you need to hold on to where you are. And this is a very, very, very important Nekuda of Avodas Hashem. Holding on in everything, like in business and climbing mountains, whatever it is. The main thing is that, if you can't move ahead, just hold on. The avalanche will pass. The katnas will pass. Whatever, you just hold on. As we're holding, it says, and his brothers are giving him sustenance, enough for him to sustain himself. This is a state, this relates to a state of a person who starts in avodas Hashem, and he feels that he still doesn't have the koiches to do what needs to be done. So what does he do? He goes to others that got their das from their fathers. They have some kind of alima, that they have some kind, it illuminates to them. And it takes his satisfaction from them. Now, they sipuk, the satisfaction, what they say. The sipuk means, the sipuk is the pleasure in avodas Hashem. But you take whatever it is that you need for your nefesh. You open up, you take a certain dibur, and you just go like, wow, that's incredible. Or take some kind of a sefer or whatever it is, and you look at Daf Yomi or Allah or whatever it is. It's a great art, and we have all experienced it, being that we are all newbies, as it were, in Yiddishkeit. We all recognize that situation that we first came in, and we had no idea what we were talking about. It's like we didn't know anything. We didn't know anything. We couldn't learn. We couldn't understand. We didn't understand Gemara. We didn't understand Hebrew b'chlam. And so what do? We connected to friends, to people around us who were able to learn, who had something to bring to the table, and we lived off this, the scraps of their table, whatever it is that they will eat, each one, when we recount the history of our journey, we see that it's dispersed with various people that introduced certain thing into Yiddishkeit for us, that told a certain thing, and we grabbed onto it, and it really satisfied us. I mean, we're looking and somebody told you, I don't know what, but I remember, for instance, in the very beginning, I was close to someone, and we talked about the Holocaust. And I said about about the resurrection. It's amazing that the dead are going to arise, and so I said, but what about all those people who were in the Holocaust who were cremated, and their dust was just dispersed, on the Vistula River outside of Auschwitz-Birkenau, and what about them? So he said, should know, Kadosh Baruch Hu knows where every single speck of dust, from their cremation is. And I remember feeling so ashamed of that it didn't dawn on me that Kadosh Baruch Hu was that great, that he knows where every single speck of every single one of those millions that were killed by the Germans. That Kadosh Baruch Hu is well aware where every single mote exists. And he gave me a tremendous chiyus. It really satisfied me. It broadened my emunah in the Kadosh Baruch Hu. It broadened my understanding of the greatness of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Was that before I came, it's like, okay, so disperse, who can find it? And so it was just a scrap of his table, but nevertheless, I was in such a madrega that was like, wow, that is incredible. Wow, yeah, yeah, and we all had this. We still have it. We still have it. Every once in a while, we hear this gewaldige word from someone, and we go like, wow, this is good. This is good. This is good. I like that. That type of thing. So this is, he says about the Chiga that he got a little bit from, from his family, whatever it is. And they said, and Rabbeinu says, and they gave him enough, so much that he had left over. And that son who could not walk, Makabetz aliyad, he put, a little from here, a little from there, whatever was left over from his panosa, until he managed to save a certain sum. Because in this relates to the Indian Rebbe still talks about satisfaction. It's like when somebody has a day job, okay? So there's somebody who's working and he's earning just for that day, okay? He has a friend who earns in one day enough for a whole week. The same thing exists in Avodas Hashem. There is somebody who is zecher to learn Torah, and he gets, you see something, and he gives you chayes for one tefillah. And there is another, or different times in your life when you go to a great holy fire that holds you on for a whole day. Rabbeinu teaches that a person needs to collect these satisfactions, these nekudas tovos, and from every single limud that he's hearing, every single thing that he hears from the tzaddik, until he's able to put together a certain sum, and you're building a basis that you can build on. Here you heard a word from this one, then you heard a word from Rab Kivak, and here you heard a voice from Seicha Balev, here a voice a word from Chaim Kramer, and from Rabbi Yitzchak, and so, and you just put them all together, or from Nosson Maimon, and you put it all together, and you build yourself, a cache, like a pool that from this you can already base your Yiddishkeit, and you probably notice that as you go along, your cache grows, and your perspective broadens, and it's like Reb Nosson writes to his son in Olam Metufa. He says, "I already sent you a letter." Because his son, was hungry for more dibur avodas Hashem, and he said, "I already sent you a letter. Don't be so frantic to expect another one, because you have to take every single dibur, every single eitzah, every single advice, every single insight from a beinu. You have to take satisfaction, take the chiyus from that." So, and internalize it, and sort of let it sit down. Speak to Kodesh Baruch Hu about it, reflect on it, and look, and the main thing that you're supposed to take from it is not philosophical inyonim and thoughts, but the main thing is that you'll take a chizuk for the simcha. And the simcha is the thing that gives you joy, gives a person joy in his invalidity, in his crippleness. We will learn weiter in the story that the reason for the crippleness is, for the chigros, is because the klippas, they yank, they suck the koach from the feet, from the raglan. And we have a rule about the malchus. All the spheres are all the way above, but the malchus is the one who has to exist in this world. And it is surrounded by klipos, and the pasuk that it used to illustrate it is, as Shlomo Melech says in the Mishnah, Raglea Yerdos Mavis, its feet, her feet, descend to the zone of death. The zone of death is the zone of the kilipot. So, and because of that, that what does it mean that the feet are in the zone of the klipot? That means that there is a certain heaviness that falls on a person. It falls with sluggishness and sadness and depression, which is it's a certain aspect of death. Rebbe says that the person who passes away is in the great moshchera, and that's the reason why when the Malchama asks him, what's his name, he forgets, because when a person is in great depression, he cannot even, remember his name, which is an astonishing thing when you come to think that, when you come to hear the idea that when a person is deceased, he is in such an immense state of depression that he's dead. It's like that. It's a certain kind of death, which gives a whole different kind of point of view on what life and death are. So the main thing to counter that, a person needs to take a sipuk of simcha, a satisfaction of joy. Derive joy from every single thing that you do, and leave some joy for the days to come. This is a very, very important thing. When a person goes through difficult times and he sees that things don't go the way that he wants them to go, or the way he hoped they would go. We said many times that this is usually a result of the fact that if we feel stuck, it's because we're looking at things wrong. We said before, we had a little conversation here, that regarding one's children or one's friends or one's spouses, if you look at the good in them, and you'll say that, the bad is incidental and not important. I mean, that's the set of circumstance that Kadosh Baruch Hu has created for them to operate. That's their nisayah, that's their journey. But if you were to take a look at them, at the good stuff in them, you'll notice that the bad falls off. Usually the reason why we see the bad in other people or in ourselves is because of gaiva, very pure and simple. I should have a son like this. I should have a wife like that. I should have a husband like that. I should have friends like this. I come to shul and like, what? Do they even realize who I am? It's like, that's the way they daven. That's the way they. Whatever it is that you feel criticism towards other people, it's because of sheer gaiva. If you were to say to yourself, wow, my son is fabulous. Look what he does. My wife is great. Well, my husband is great. I am great. What are you talking about? I'm great. How am I great? Well, take a look at this. I speak to Kadosh Baruch Hu. Yeah, and? What do you mean, yeah, and? Do you know how Kadosh Baruch Hu is? Do you have any inkling who is? No. Okay. But you realize that he is the king of everything? Well, yeah, everybody knows that. Well, do you know what it takes to get an audience with Charles V or Louis XIII or the Tsar of Russia or Julius Caesar or Nebuchadnezzar or the Machshema, all of them? Do you know what it means to get an audience with Shlomo HaMelech? Whoa, an audience with Shlomo HaMelech. Now you're talking. Shlomo HaMelech will take one look at you. He'll know everything about you. He's the wisest of all men, right? He'll take one look at you and he would know everything that you don't want anybody to know. He will know, and the Mashiach will be able to just smell it off you. So how much, what kind of schos does it take in order to get an audience with David HaMelech? Get an audience with David HaMelech. You know what it means? Get an audience with David HaMelech. You're getting it settled. It says, okay, the secretary of protocol, says, okay, there is a slot of 2 minutes that you are able to get to see David HaMelech. Wow. Can you imagine how excited you'd be? I'm just talking about it and I'm getting excited. I get to see David HaMelech for 2 minutes to look at his face. With his hair, with this seven kinds of gold in his hair. So the face of Melech Israel. He lives forever. Now he is the Melech of Israel forever. This is it. This is it. There is no, that's Melech Israel. And you're going to talk to him? And he is not even a speck of dust when it comes to Kadosh Baruch Hu. You see these hands? You see this face? You see this mouth? This person, this flesh and blood who lives now, at a certain point in time will leave this world. That body, this body will be, in a grave. Had the merit of speaking to the King of all kings. And everything that I said as well cannot be unsaid. It cannot be taken away from me. So but the tefillah was not, okay, the tefillah was not, whatever it is. Because God created the world, with a star, with Yetzirah, with choice, free choice that I have to overcome, whatever it is. But this body, good, bad, or ugly, whatever it is, was zecher to speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's a small thing by you? We see somebody who was zecher to see the Chazon Ish. Oh, it's a huge thing. Somebody was zecher to see Rebbe Yitzchok, or Rebbe Cheshin, or Rabbi Rosenfeld. Take a look at Bobby and Rabbi Maimon, and you go like, wow, there was zecher to see Rabbi Rosenfeld. There was zecher to speak to him. There was and the people in Chabad, anybody who who saw the Lubavitcher Rebbe, let alone somebody who has been in Yechidus Lubavitcher Rebbe. Like, wow, it's like, well, yours is a body that spoke to Hashem face to face. There's so much joy to be derived from that. If you look at that and you stop judging yourself for all the things that you don't do, all the things that you didn't do, all the things that you can't do, and realize that they are incidental. That's not the main thing. The main thing is how good you are. Yeah, you're good. You're good. You're really, really good. This is, and you take from that something that eventually, it builds up. When you take a look at it and you remind yourself again and again and again, it builds up. It builds a whole way of looking at things. Looking at Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's a tremendous thing. And we said, okay, well, now once he amassed a certain sum of money, he says, V'yishev atzmai. And he reflected. He thought about it and came to a conclusion. Rebbe Yitzchok Bender Zechatzaron Livrocha used to emphasize that which Rabbeinu says again and again and again about the Chiger, about the cripple. That Yishev es atzmai, what was the sword and exchanged children, that he said and thought things over between him and himself. Usually the best way to do it is speaking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He says that the reason why Rabbeinu keeps on emphasizing it is because to exit a state of crippleness is through Yishuv Hadas. That's a concept that is very, very far from the natural tendencies of a person. Because once a person sees that, he quote unquote doesn't have it, anything that another person can do with half his brain time behind his back just to make it fair, I cannot do with a forklift. So a person figures, what will reflection ever help me? He can't make me uncripple. Rabbeinu says that it works. We later on see that it is exactly such reflection that enabled him to come to the diamond. It's an astonishing ha'ara, it's astonishing input. You would think that if I can't do it, what will reflection help? I'm still a cripple. I'm still unable to do it. What good will it do? But it's not so. Because what reflection will do is it will take you out of pointing the wrong way. Because the state of mind that depression, that crippleness, that whatever story that each of us brings from his childhood, make us look at life, at ourselves, and at people from the wrong perspective. It sends us on a wild goose chase in the wrong direction. So any time that you stop and you reflect and you see listen, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not getting anywhere with my wife. I'm not getting anywhere with my children. Or I'm not getting anywhere with myself. I'm not getting anywhere with Torah. I'm not getting anywhere with Rabbeinu. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm stuck. Just sit and reflect and ask us, where am I? What's the issue of das? What should I do? What's the right thing to do? And you'll notice that the main thing that this will do is not that you'll be able to figure out the right answer. That's not it. Your salvation will come from a totally unexpected source. And anybody who has ever been in business knows that your deliverance, you made plans, from now to kingdom come, and suddenly your deliverance came from a place that you never, ever, ever imagined it will come from. But the fact that you're miyashiv yourself, the fact that you are reflecting upon your situation, and you're saying, like, where am I in the world, puts you in the state that when your deliverance come, you are there and you are in the right state of mind to cash in on it. This is extremely important, this kind of Yishuv Adas. Just do whatever it is that you need to do. Do whatever it is that you need to do. If a person is not miyashiv himself, he does not reflect, he's not, he doesn't have the presence of mind, when the moment comes, you might lose it. So it's extremely important on a daily basis. And now the Chiga says, what was Yishuv Adas? Says, why should I get sustenance from them? It's better that I should do some kind of business, some kind of a masa matan for myself. The fact that you and I are getting, or have been getting, or got, and are still getting this sustenance from the people around us, from Talmidei Rabbeinu around us, it builds us up to become a bardas. It builds us up to have a certain kind of as we said before, a basis upon which to build. And you become a bardas. The father said to his children, you should water trees. How did the cripple put himself in a situation to get a bardas? It's because his brothers were watering him. This is watering trees. His brothers were watering him. But the Chiga figured out that the tachlis in creating the world, the creation of the world, is that which is called masa or matan. In English, it's called doing business, but in Hebrew, in Lashon Kodesh, masa means carrying, and matan means giving, carrying and giving. The main avodah in this world is the avodah of birurim. That you have to find out, you have to bring up the sparks of holiness that are in everything. This is done through business. This is done through the mischar, the commerce of give and take. And by doing this creates the state of Yichud Kusha B'Chul Shchintei. It unites a Kadosh Baruch Hu with the Shechina, and that brings a bestowment of moichen, of intelligence, of intelligence, and what it does is it waters the trees, it waters the midas. As we said in the very beginning, the main tachlis of why what the tzaddik is working with us is to bestow das upon us. The das that what that Hashem or Elokim. Hashem or Elokim, Hashem is the God, he's the ruler, he's the one that rules the world. That which we know in our intellect, the way that we live our lives, what we know in our das is a b'chinas of Hashem. The way that we live our lives is a b'chinas Elokim, and we need to unite the two. At Hashem or Elokim. That which we know in our minds that Hashem is ruling, and what Hashem goes, what Hashem says goes, and this is the tachlis of life. This would actually come down and trickle down to our everyday life. This is called watering trees, because the tree is the midas. It's called masa matan. Masa means carrying, means that you lift up. You lift up the midas up to the das. Matan means that ashpa, the bestowment of the kedusha that it brings about. But in order for this to happen, a person has to go down into a state of invalidity, of crippleness, of disability. Because when a person wants to get into Avodas Hashem and to elevate the holy sparks from the kilipot, the Yetzer grabs him inside the kilipot. It doesn't let him come up when he touches the kedusha, and he does everything that he can to keep us down. This is it. Again, incredibly important nakuda. You know, we all find ourselves trapped in various states of being. There are things, sometimes we can find ourselves very much alone. And we feel that nobody cares about us. We can find ourselves bored. Oh man, I don't have what to do. Yeah, I know that I have what to do, but I don't feel like doing what it is that I really should be doing. Okay, so what should I do? I should really watch videos on the internet. Like animals, National Geographic. I'm not talking about things that are forbidden. But like leopard, how strong and quick a leopard is. How tenacious a leopard is. There's no way to outrun or outmaneuver or overpower a leopard. If you think you can do that, you got another thing coming. He can't climb up a tree running away from a leopard because he will climb right up to you. And you can't have to jump from the tree because he can climb down like a squirrel. He can turn around, his ankles can turn around. Wow, that'd be interesting. I can sort of whenever I'm bored, I can maybe do something like this, I'm not doing anything bad, hopefully, But what about the fact that I'm actually I'm exposing my mind to the das of the goyim? Maybe I'll just do that. Maybe I'll just a little bit. It can happen that a person can have fantasies. Anybody is watching from the side take a look at us and say, here there are 5 geezers, all of them with white beards. What kind of fantasies they're talking about? The answer is fantasy is not to do with age. They come at any age. Well, it's just because in the real life it feels like, like let me have a cookie, man. Just let me revive myself with something. Look at me. I don't get chas of anything from anything. To do the shift and realize this is Yetzer Hara, who's trying to keep me down. It's not me who's sitting there and says like, "Oh man, I'm like so bored. There's nothing for me to do." I'm like, just trying to, give myself a little joy, a little life, And then suddenly someone says, something, this is Yetzer Hara trying to keep you down. Wow. How do I know it's Yetzer Hara? Maybe it's Yetzer Tov. Something? Maybe it is Yetzer Tov. Well, I got a little news for you. There is a very common characteristics to Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara. So you're always able to tell them behind their masks. Yetzer Hara pays cash on the spot. Yetzer Tov is that Wayne skinny guy with a reedy voice that is shaking, and he is boring as heck. That's the Yetzer Tov. It's up to you to decide who you're going to listen to. As Groucho Marx once say, who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? It takes an effort. It takes an effort to just say, like Superman stopping a locomotive, just stop. Just give me. I need to breathe. I need to live, man. I'm getting out of my mind. I'm so bored. I'm so alone. I'm so, now you want me to go and learn? You want to go be miyash of yourself. Be miyash of yourself. Reflect. Talk to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Life is passing. And every single moment that passes counts. There is no, okay, this is ex curriculum, it's like, I don't know how you call it in English, in the middle of the game, when you just stop the game, like game of catch or whatever it is, you want to call, okay, hold on to the game, just stop, time out, kind of thing. And when I was a kid, and here we used to call it puss. Puss means a timeout. All right, in the middle of the game, okay, it's just, I got to tell you, so don't chase me, don't whatever it is, puss, okay, stop, pause, puss probably comes from pause. Put a pause, all right, and there is no pause button in life. The only pause there is Yeshiva Das. Be miyash of yourself. What is life about? The thing that differentiates the tycoons from the also-rans is that tycoons don't have a pause button. They keep on keeping on. And most tycoons are chasing rubbish. They build empires which they will leave to others behind them, and they'll have absolutely nothing with it. But tzaddikim are also tycoons. Somebody asked the Chazon Ish, what does it take to be a Chazon Ish? So that I never wasted a moment in my life. And I was very careful in Kibbud Avim. Don't waste a moment of your life. And it's a fight. It's a fight. What do you make it such a big deal, man? Just a few minutes, just watch something, take a little break, eat a good steak, it's just, come on, man, you can't be a fanatic. Sounds like Sammy, doesn't it? And it's a fight. It's a fight. And you got to start the fight and asking Kadosh Baruch Hu to help you before the fight arrives. Because once the fight arrives, it is usually too late. There's a famous Chassam Sofer, a verse of the Chassam Sofer that he said to his Talmidim, a person should always look, should feel and envision, feel like the Yetzer Hara is standing there with a sword and tells you, I want you do the Avera or I'm going to cut your head off. That kind of confrontation. So one of his Talmidim said to him, yeah, but what if I don't feel that? Let's be realistic, what I'm saying? What if I don't feel that? So Sofer said, that means you already cut your head off. If you don't feel that, that means you have no head. On one hand, there's a lot of leeway on the, to be who you are, to have passed through everything that you passed through, and to realize you can come to Kadosh Baruch Hu with everything, no matter what you do, no matter what you did. On the other hand, there is no leeway. There is not a single second, or not a second, in life which is during a timeout. There is no timeout. It all counts. The ball is in play. You drop the ball, they're going to score a run. This kind of weighing it this way and that way, all the time. You have an ally in the game. The tzaddik is with you. What does it mean? It means he is in your veins. Yeah, but what does it mean? It means that with the schus of the tzaddik, you have an open line to pick up the phone and call the Kadosh Baruch Hu and tell him, look, I'm seriously bored. I'm seriously bored. And I'm depressed. And I need to pick me up. Or at least I think I do. And things are very not easy for me. And I have an idea of how it is I'd like to alleviate, my hardship. And I'm not 100% sure that that's the way you want me to behave. Can you please help me out here? You'll be amazed. You'll be amazed because Baruch Hu will help you with anything, with everything. Getting up in the morning, b'mechaven your tefillah, say the brachas b'kavana, speak to him, stay away from Yetzer Hara, whatever it is. You'll even have Yetzer Hara that tells you, something, don't talk to Kadosh Baruch Hu about it. It'll only spoil the fun. Don't talk, don't raise the issue. Don't wake up sleeping dogs. Don't do don't do it. You'll miss the Super Bowl, you'll miss the game, you'll miss the World Series, you'll miss all those things that you want to, you'll miss it. Don't. You said it already. So Shlomo Zalnik. Ashrecha. Talk to Kadosh Baruch Hu. Tell me, you know something? I really don't want to talk to you about this. I really don't want to talk to you about this because I don't want to miss it. But what can I do? Life goes on, you know. It takes. And I'm going to my grave with this. Whatever it is I'll do or won't do, I'm going to my grave with this. Okay. I think that I have sort of like tired you enough with this particular these issues. So this is what I'll Mitzvah Hashem, this is where we will stop today. Hopefully we will continue next week, the same subject. Mitzvah Hashem, Wednesday night is Rosh Chodesh, right? And Thursday is the last light of Hanukkah, correct? If I'm not mistaken. So, B'ezrat Hashem, we will meet Mitzvah Hashem on Thursday night into our sojourn to this immense, incredible, unbelievably deep and profound Torah number 21 in Likutei Moharan. So, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll see you all there.